All right, welcome back to the Global Goals Studio. I am Chika Odua here with Richard Wolff. Joining us today are Kerry Kennedy, president of Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights, a nonprofit advocacy organization, Mr. Rashad Robinson, the president of Color of Change, that's an online racial justice group, and Alicia Garza, she's the principal at Black Futures Lab, also the co-founder of the Black Lives Matter Global Network. The U.S. presidential election is just 42 days away now, and the country is more divided than ever with no signs of coming together. Ms. Garza, is a functional democracy that people can actually believe in a pipe dream? What would it take to build one, and how does the future Black Futures Lab fit into that vision?
It's such a good question. I mean, no, I don't think that a democracy that people can believe in is a pipe dream. But I do think that what it requires is the active participation of everyone in the country in the decisions that impact our lives every single day. And the fact of the matter is, when we talk about Black communities being left out and left behind, democracy is one of the first places where the rules are rigged against our communities, keeping us from impacting the decisions that shape our lives. So for me, when I think about what's possible here, I think it's going to take a couple of things. I mean, one, it's going to take getting rid of this immediate threat that we are facing right now in this country, where frankly, our government is moving towards the most extreme side of the spectrum, and a result of that will be devastating for Black communities. But the other thing that I think is really necessary is a real change in how we engage in politics to begin with. We've been saying at the Action Fund and at the lab for a long time that you cannot just engage Black communities symbolically without engaging us substantively. We often see plates of soul food when it comes to candidates coming to Black communities to try and secure our votes, but we rarely see town halls about dwindling access to healthcare, dwindling access to affordable housing and quality jobs. And that's a big scourge on the prospect of democracy being functional. So we have to deal with the immediate threat at hand, but we also need to have a long-term look at how we change the way that we engage in politics to begin with. And that means that everyone has to see themselves as responsible for stewarding a new form of democracy in this nation.
Rashad Robinson, there's been a lot of talk in this election cycle, as there has in the last several, about voter suppression. Is voter suppression getting worse now? Or is there anything that people can do to combat it in the short time we have left before this election?
It's definitely going to be heightened in really incredible ways, and we're going to have to pay attention. You know, we back in 18 were working to stop polling places from being moved from town halls to police stations as a clear attempt to kind of send a message to some communities that don't show up to the polls. And we know these things will continue to happen. But we're also dealing with the fact that more and more of us are on social media platforms. We live in virtual worlds and we live in geographic worlds. And those virtual worlds that are controlled by big Silicon Valley companies have been absolutely horrible when it comes to dealing with all the ways in which misinformation, disinformation, and voter suppression is not just lives on their platform, but is incentivized through the algorithms. The incentive structure of these platforms allows this content to both travel, makes it very easy for foreign actors to get involved, or shall I say far too easy than it should be. And as a result, we are dealing with both the sort of voter suppression and disinformation that happens with flyers in our communities and billboards, which happens with, you know, press stories that creates and sows doubt. And also we're dealing with it up in the air. And so, yes, it will be more challenging. And this is why it is so important that we have organizations that are at scale, like mine, Color of Change, and Alicia's, and other groups like Black Voters Matter, who are going to be able to fight disinformation. Because the fact of the matter is the political parties and the candidates will not be the sort of right messengers here. It will be grassroots organizations that are powered by everyday people's voices to be that third party validation to push back. So get involved and get invested in a local organization. Work to reach voters. The best way we can fight voter suppression and voter disinformation is to keep our people informed, to keep them motivated, and to get people in motion, connecting and engaging with their network.
Ms. Kennedy, I'm curious to find out, because right now we're in such a charged political atmosphere in the United States. What bothers you the most? I mean, what keeps you up at night as we get closer to Election Day?
I mean, there's sort of a new thing every day that comes out of the White House that is just more egregious than what happened the day before. But, I think this notion of what is democracy? Democracy is really about people having control over the basic decisions that impact their lives, over their jobs, over their education, over their children's future, over whether they can breathe the air that they walk outside and have before them. And so I think the quest here is to bolster our democracy and bolster solidarity, this sense that we're all in this together. That's the America that I grew up believing in. I always go back to the Langston Hughes poem. America never was America to me, but America must be. And I think that's what we're all trying to do here is build this country that we dream of, where all of us are in it together, where we're working together, and where there's a system of justice we can believe in. And that's why I'm I admire everything Alicia is doing and Rashad is doing, and so many others who are sacrificing themselves for our country.
And that's a perfect way to end this conversation on a lovely, optimistic note. I want to say a big thank you to our guests, Carrie Kennedy, Rashad Robinson, and Alicia Garza. We'll be back for more. You're watching Global Goals Studio. Thank you.
What's a citizen? It's believing in something and doing something about it, being responsible and following through on promises. We're a company of 135,000 citizens, and we have a plan to work toward a greater good, a better future to share, one that will move us all forward. Citizen Verizon, our plan for economic, environmental, and social advancement.